to those that are here. There probably will be more people joining over the next minute or so, but we really wanted to start on time today for you, as we've got quite a packed agenda. So welcome to the Family's Cost of Living Information session. We have got a British Sign Language interpreter here today. Her name is Jenny Graveson, and Alex is going to spotlight her for you all. I'm just going to go through a little bit of housekeeping for you before we start today's session. So just to make you aware that today's session is being recorded, it has already been started. Cameras and microphones have been disabled to enable us to continue with the flow of today's session, and the speakers will put their cameras on, presenters, as they're going to be presenting, so you can see who's actually speaking. Everybody else will keep their cameras off during that time. Because we've got quite a packed agenda, if you could please put any questions that you have along the way into the chat, and we will try to respond to them. If we have enough time, we will have a question and answer section at the end. As I say, it's quite a packed agenda, so please do put your questions in the chat, and we will get those answers to you. And the recording from today and all the slides will be added to the Cost of Living Toolkit website, which is on the link at the bottom here. But if you just search Cost of Living Toolkit in Hertfordshire County Council, then you'll be able to find it. Here's the list of the presenters for today. I'm not going to go through them all. I've been Tina Powell. I'm the Service Manager for Strategic Partnerships. I'm now going to hand over to Rebecca Harvey, and everybody will introduce themselves as they come onto the screen.
Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Harvey. I'm the Service Manager for the Money Advice Unit and Client Finance team. If we could go to the next slide, please. I'm going to talk about national context. The autumn budget statement is due in late November, so we don't know yet all the changes, but we expect them to be coming in the next couple of weeks, what's going to happen. Inflation has remained at 3.8% based on the Consumer Price Index, and average earnings have increased over last year by 4.8% higher than CPI. Food inflation was also higher than CPI at 4.5%. The Ofgem energy price cap has risen by 2%, adding additional pressures to people to heat their homes. So a household with a typical usage paying by direct debit will pay £1,755 a year. In addition to those changes, the government are introducing a new crisis and resilience fund to replace the household support fund with £1 billion worth of funding spread across the country over the next year. Looking at the national context for families, there are 4.5 million children growing up in poverty in the UK today. And of that, they tend to be children in larger families, lone parent families, such as 43% of those, and 44% of disabled families, as well as those from Black and Asian backgrounds who are more likely to be living in poverty. 7 out of 10 children living in poverty have at least one parent in paid work, and 900,000 children live in poverty miss out on free school meals. The child maintenance system holds a record number of payments for children and families. So there are 1 million children on the list who the child maintenance system holds on to. In July 2025, the Work and Pensions Committee launched the new inquiry into the child maintenance service, aiming to improve how the system supports families and children to get the financial support they need, because there are a lot of problems. And later this year, the government will be introducing the child poverty strategy in 2025. If we could go to the next slide, please. So just sort of doing a brief cap of benefits that families may be entitled to claim. These include universal credit, a single rate or a couple rate. And you can claim that whether you're working or not working. And if you're working, it will taper depending on how much you earn. So it is means tested. Within universal credit, there are different elements. So there are money for children, up to 2 children currently, people with disabilities, carers, housing costs, and childcare costs as well. So you can get an additional amount of universal credit depending on how many different criteria you meet. There's also child benefit, which you can get whether you're working or not working. It is unlimited for all the children. So you can have 5 children or 1 child, you'll still be able to claim it. It is means tested, however. So if your income's between 60 and 80,000 a year, it will be tapered off until you're no longer entitled to it. But there is no limit on the number of children you can apply for. Free school meals and help with school uniforms. And if you could just press the button again, please. Disability benefit. So disability living allowance can be applied to help children who've got disabilities or mobility, care and supervision problems. There are also carers allowance. So if you get disability living allowance, you can claim carers allowance as well, providing you're caring for a child 35 hours per week. And some people will also be able to get help with council tax reduction to help their council tax bills. If you could press the button again, please. And if a family is in a mixed age couple, so one of the couple are working age and the other is a pensioner, they could claim universal credit, but the partner who's over pension age could claim state pension. The state pension would be treated as income from means tested benefits, however. If we could move to the next slide, please. I'm going to look at the changes to family benefits. So working parents of children under the age of 5 years will be entitled to 30 hours free childcare from September this year. Universal credit is in its final stages of being rolled out. So all legacy benefits of working age people, including families, will end in March 2026. So all families should now be moving over to universal credit and the legacy benefits will then end. The universal credit standard rate is going to increase in April 2026 by 4.8%. So it's higher than the CPI index and it's in line with average earnings. The amount will be confirmed in the autumn budget. With the sickness element of universal credit, and lots of people may have heard about this in the news, but that is going to be the amount that people can claim will be reduced from April 2026 for new claimants. So they will get half the amount of the people that are currently entitled to limited capability for work activity. So that'll be from £423 down to £217, but it won't affect current claimants. There's also personal independence payments. So in early 2025, the government proposed to make changes. They are no longer making these changes and are currently undertaking a review of PIP known as the TIMS review, and that will be reporting back later next year. There are also bereavement support payments. So a person no longer needs to be married or in a civil partnership to be able to claim if their partner dies. They should still be able to claim it. If we can move to the next slide, please. So just to touch on a bit more about the Crisis and Resilience Fund, this will be replacing the Household Support Fund from next year. And the government have decided that they're going to fund it for 3 years. So at the moment, the Household Support Fund is being either 1 year or 6 monthly programmes of support, but the government have committed to a 3-year-long multi-funded programme of support. It has been co-produced with the voluntary and charity sector, as well as local authorities and people with lived experience of poverty. It will focus on 3 core areas. These are the provision of effective crisis support, improving individuals and local communities' financial resilience, and bolstering community level support. The government does aim to incorporate discretionary housing payments, which are payments to help with the rent, where there's a shortfall in year 3 of the programme, but they won't be doing it for the first 2 years. And local authorities and our voluntary and community sector will be building partnerships to come together to deliver on that programme. And finally, the new programme will be launched in April 2026. And as I mentioned before, that's worth £1 billion of funding across the country. Thank you. I'll pass on to the next speaker.
Hi, I'm Anne Ardley. I'm based in the Community and People Wellbeing team in Adult Care Services, and I look after the Hertfordshire Directory. Okay, so if you're not already aware of the Hertfordshire Directory, it's a free website offering a lot of listings for professionals and members of the public to find services, groups and activities across the county. And Hertfordshire County Council have been running a project for a couple of years to improve and update and promote the directory. So as a result, we think it's a great resource, and there are thousands of listings from large organisations, national charities, for instance, One YMCA, Home Start and Space, to huge numbers of smaller local charities and voluntary groups, and including individuals who are supporting their local communities. So on the first slide, I've added links into some useful areas of there's a large resource for families. And so I won't run through all of them, but just a few examples. There's a childcare finder to help people who are looking for specific types of childcare to narrow down the options in their areas. There are a huge number of parenting courses on the directory to help families who are having challenges at home. There's a big family support section with all the family centres, child contact centres. We've got many private tutors on the directory, that's individuals and tuition centres offering tuition to children. There's a big resource about food support, that's food banks, pantries and community supermarkets across the county. And another example is school partnerships, for instance, Chex's, Stevenage Educational Trust and other organisations. And then just to highlight particular information for cost of living, there's a larger number of services that support in this area. So I've got links there to the citizens advice services across the county, money and debt services, from big ones like Step Change through to the local credit unions in different areas of the county. And there's homelessness and housing support, mental health, disability and support with long-term conditions. So just a huge number of listings to help people find what they need. And the next slide, just to highlight a couple of advantages with the directory. It's a very up-to-date resource. We make sure that everything gets reviewed regularly so that there isn't old, out-of-date services listed. And an advantage is that you can run shortlists. So if you're looking for particular services for a client that you support, you can identify particular services and print or email a shortlist. And then we've recently added a referral button to the directory. So there are now over 300 organisations who are accepting direct referrals through their directory listing page. So we think it's a really useful resource and there's a lot of information on there. And then just on the last slide, there's a bit more information and a QR code that can be sent to people if that's useful. Thanks.
Hello, hi. I'm Georgina Courtney. I'm the Service Development Manager for HertsHelp. So I'll just go through and tell you a bit about what we do and how we can support people with the cost of living. So HertsHelp is a free service available by phone, email, text or online. Our aim is to help people across Hertfordshire and find the right support for whatever challenges they are facing. Our connecting officers play a key role in this. They take the time to have open, whole person conversations. It's not just focusing on one issue, but really understanding everything that might affect someone's well-being. From there, they connect people with the right advice services, organisations, all in one conversation. Every call, every chat, every connection should truly have the power to change someone's day or even their life. So we support residents with a very wide range of needs, from information and advice to mental health, money and welfare support, social care and help at home, to domestic abuse, substance misuse and promoting healthy, happier living. These referrals and contacts can be made by either the public directly or through professionals. There's a little flow chart there, which you can look when you have the slides later on, which kind of like shows how it works through the system. So over the last quarter, we have seen a rise in calls related to the cost of living crisis, with key themes including money worries, access to food and fuel, and help with essential bills. We are responding by strengthening our partnerships and making sure residents are signposted to the right support as quickly as possible and making sure that they are getting the appropriate support that they need. Over the last quarter, just as an example, we've had 2,542 inbound calls, and we have made 3,864. And I've also kind of broken down for you the top 5 call codes in each area within finance, charitable support, food banks and housing. Again, you can see more detail when you can view the slides later. So that's in the gist of what we do. No wrong door basically means that there isn't anything that we can't support with. You know, we won't turn you away. You know, and we will collectively deal with all of your problems in one, so you don't have to keep going to all different places and contacting different organisations yourself. And another one of our big focuses is obviously we'd rather make referrals for an individual rather than signpost, because that's something that it's just an extra weight that they take off. So if you don't know where to turn, give us a call. Thank you very much.
Hi, so I'm Matt Mardle. I'm a project manager in the Community and People Wellbeing team here at Hertfordshire County Council. So I'm here just to talk you through the financial pathway a little bit before I hand over to Citizens Advice. So the financial support in Hertfordshire, we tried to really simplify it in this document here. So as you can see, this bit isn't quite relevant, but for older people, you can go to Age UK. If you're in general financial hardship, or if you're a carer needing financial support, Citizens Advice are there and they can support. But if you have more specific needs, such as you're under a pension age and have complex needs, or you have a cancer diagnosis or mental health issues, you can be referred into the Money Advice Unit via a different number of pathways that can be seen on the screen. And we also have one-off crisis support, which will be via the Welfare Assistance Scheme, which Michael will talk about later. At these support organisations, they can identify eligibility, whether people are eligible for the Welfare Assistance Scheme or might require some other support, and they can make direct referrals from their organisations.
Hi everyone, I'm Melanie Belhage. I'm from Citizens Advice in Hertfordshire. Next slide, please. So for those who don't know who we are, so Citizens Advice are a charity. We provide free, confidential, independent and impartial advice to people, whoever they are and whatever their problem. We also campaign for change so that we can try and make things better for people. Next slide, please. So just to give you a bit of context, what we've been seeing, tracking some sort of key cost of living issues over the past few years. So we've seen a dramatic rise in the numbers of people coming to us for support with disability related benefits. So for example, personal independence payment, charitable support and food bank referrals, energy related matters, council tax, debts and issues relating to claiming council tax benefit. So yeah, it's a rising picture, and that obviously hasn't slowed down to sort of pre-pandemic levels. We help with a range of issues from benefits to debt and money, consumer, housing, legal issues, relationships and families, all of those that you see there and more. So in terms of how we can support families with financial matters, so a lot of the issues that we kind of see relate to sort of debt and money. So we can carry out a debt assessment for people who are struggling financially. We can identify and deal with any sort of debt emergencies that they might be having. We can also give people budgeting advice. So there are lots of sort of low income tariffs and grants that people might be able to access that they might not be aware of, and that can be for people who are in receipt of means tested benefits, but also sort of grants for help with sort of energy debts, things like that, where that doesn't apply. We can provide sort of debt advice and advice on people's debt solutions. We can also help people check their benefit entitlement to make sure that they're receiving all of the benefits they're entitled to, including any kind of additional sort of top-ups to their benefits or passported benefits, so things like free prescriptions and free dental care, that type of thing. And we can support with making applications for benefits as well. Next slide, please. So across Hertfordshire, we've got a range of services that are designed to support families with sort of cost of living and financial related issues. So we've got a crisis intervention project, care and money matters. The Heart Debt Advice Project supports particularly vulnerable residents within Hertfordshire. We've got a universal help to claim service. So if you are working with people and they're not in receipt of benefits already, then the help to claim service can provide, again, benefit check. They can give them advice on claiming universal credit up until they receive their first correct payment. So we can make calls to DWP with them, talk them through the process, and challenge any decisions to not award benefits. We've got a welfare benefit appeals project where if people have applied for benefits and have been refused by DWP, we can help them appeal at a tribunal. For anybody over 50 who is looking to take money from a defined contribution pension, we've got our Pension Wise service, and they give guidance on the options that are available to people, and they'll signpost back to citizens' advice where they might be in receipt of benefits, so there aren't any issues there. And we give advice to asylum seekers and refugees, particularly around kind of housing and benefits once they've got refugee status. And we also provide advice in British Sign Language. And all of those services are available county-wide. And very quickly, just a sort of brief case study. So we had a client come to us for support. She came because she'd had separated from her husband. She had no income at all, was sort of living in a friend's property with herself and her children. So we helped the client apply for universal credit. We also helped her understand her housing options so that she was able to then find and secure accommodation moving forward. We also helped her with emergency food support so she could contribute while she was waiting for her benefits to come in, and to get sort of suitably housed. And I've just put on the slides there all of the ways that you can get in touch with us. And again, on the Hertfordshire Citizens Advice website, and there are 10 local offices within Hertfordshire. On their websites, you will find partner referral links into our service, and we were always grateful for a referral with client consent.
Hi everybody. So I'm just going to cover the Money Advice Unit. So we provide second-tier support to colleagues across the county, and that includes a daily advice line, a free money advice training programme, and we also have online e-training modules, which are available for residents or colleagues across the county. We also provide fact sheets on our website as well. So the services that the Money Advice Unit work around are Macmillan Cancer Support Advice and Casework. That's for professionals and self-referrals, and it's of any age. We've got our carer and support benefits advice for disabled people, carers, and people experiencing crisis, as well as people with mental health problems and refugees, and they're professional referrals only. We also provide support around headway and brain injuries and renal projects, and children with disabilities as well. So we can help with casework such as filling in claim forms, identifying whether people are getting the right benefits or not, helping them to challenge negative adverse decisions and to appeal and represent them at tribunal. So if you'd like to find out more information, or if you need to get any help on our advice line, or training program, our contact details are on the slide there. So there's a telephone number and an email address, and you can also visit the website to look at our fact sheets. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Longfellow, and I work for the Community and People Wellbeing team, and I'm pleased to manage the Hertfordshire Welfare Assistance Service. So a little bit of information. So it's just covering the financial year 24-25 and up to September of this year. We've processed 9,556 applications from 6,365 unique applicants. Of those, 5,447 were for families with children, and 61% of those applications were successful. So in 24-25, we spent £1.2 million across the board, and 871,000 of that was spent on, again, families with children. And in 25-26, up to the end of September, we'd spent £444,000, of which 295,000 has been spent on families with children. And that's across the board, a 67.5% of total spend is going on families. I should hasten to point out that it will increase across the winter as we increase the value of the vouchers that are issued. And the way that the support is currently issued to people is through a online voucher, which is like an e-gift card, and they can select from a number of supermarkets, Argos and Currys for white goods, or they can redeem it against their energy bill or a prepayment card at a PayPoint venue. Next slide, please. So what does the service provide? We provide food, as I've said, with vouchers, which is all the main supermarkets, energy, which is all the main suppliers. Again, you can take your bill to a PayPoint or your prepayment card. Clothing is for children and for people in serious crisis. So that would be for domestic violence, people that have been homeless. We actually have a special fund for those that are slightly oversized, for instance, or need specialist support. So we recently had a gentleman that needed a size 6XL coat who'd been homeless. You won't be able to get one of those from Tesco's. So we have a special little fund and a credit card where we can buy that clothing directly for them. White goods is capped at £200, and it covers any item of white goods, but it needs to be broken or beyond repair. And household starter packs and kitchen starter packs are for individuals who have just moved into their first home, again have fled domestic violence with nothing to look after themselves, and have been homeless and moved into a new property. And those are for things like pots and pans, duvets, pillows, cutlery, etc., etc., so they can get a good start on their life. Next page, please. So because this is funded by central government, we have to do certain checks, and it is to avoid fraud. A number of these services have been targeted by attempted frauds across the country, unfortunately. We ask for proof of ID in the form of a photo ID, preferably proof of benefits, so your universal credit statement, full statement, proof of finances, which would be a bank statement, which is for all accounts held, including savings, proof of address, again, a utility bill or council tax statement, and a tenancy agreement if you're claiming white goods, because often landlords are actually eligible to repair the goods rather than the tenant having to pay for them. We have just started a project where we're working with an online banking system, so it's called Open Banking, and that takes a financial snapshot of the time the client does it. That's done online. We'll send them we send them a text and they approve it if they have an online bank account. It just gives us a snapshot. We can't actually see inside their bank accounts or do anything in there. We just get a snapshot of their finances, and that then stops the need for proof of ID, proof of benefits, proof of finances to be supplied, because we can see that in that snapshot immediately. That's the Welfare Assistance Service. If you have any questions about it or want any more information, I will put my email address in the chat. Please do feel free to email me. Thank you.
Hiya. So I'm just here to speak about the food support pathway quickly. So food support in Hertfordshire, we've got a variety of support available from food banks to local supermarkets. And what we're really focused on at the moment is making sure that there's support available for everybody. So as you can see on the screen, we are trying to develop it as a pathway. So there's a different level for everyone. So if you're in sustained financial hardship, you can visit a food bank. So that's free food parcels. Sometimes people are a bit too proud to use a food bank, or perhaps they feel like it's not really for them. They've got a bit of money, they should be paying for their food, in which case a food pantry might be a better option. They work in a variety of models, but they're often pay what you can or pay what you feel you can. We also have a range of target support, so this will be supermarket vouchers or one-off financial crisis support, such as through the welfare assistance scheme. And we've got the recently established community supermarkets. So this really focuses on people that are just about managing. So in the past, they might have been going to the supermarkets regularly, but with the cost of living and everything increasing, now they're struggling to get a full week's supermarket shop. So they might want to use a community supermarket instead. And the idea is we want to help people transition from this system. So if they're in a food bank, can we try and move them onto a food pantry? Can we try and move them onto a community supermarket and eventually get them into a position where they're financially comfortable and they can use a supermarket? So food banks and food pantries, there's lots around the county, and you can find all their information on the Hertfordshire directory. The link is on the page. Like I said, they all work in a variety of models. There's no fixed model that they use. But further detail will be provided on the Herts directory when you look at specific services. So community supermarkets. The community supermarkets offer a range of food, all under £1. So the real focus on this is sort of fresh, healthy fruit and veg and things like that. And it operates in a membership model. So there's a weekly visitation fee. So you only pay if you attend the community supermarket. And due to the household support fund, the first 8 visits are free for someone. And then after that, they have a small weekly membership fee that they will need to pay. At a community supermarket, there is a limit of 20 items per visit. And we do try and make sure that people get a balanced diet at the community supermarkets. So you will be limited on items. So for example, we have coffee. You can only get 1 jar of coffee. You can't go and buy 3 or 4 because they are substantially discounted compared to a supermarket. You can sign up on our webpage, and there is a range of eligibility. It's quite broad criteria. The main thing is that they are impacted by the cost of living or they are financially struggling. I'll let you read the eligibility criteria in your own time. But even if they don't fit this criteria, if they are affected in some other way, they can tell us and we will try and support them the best we can. So the link to community supermarkets is on the screen, and there's a QR code that you can scan that will take you to the web page. As part of the community supermarkets, we do accept the NHS Healthy Start scheme. So this is a scheme that helps young families and those who are pregnant to access healthy foods, plain liquid cow's milk, all these sorts of things. So the community supermarkets do accept this card, and essentially what we'll do is we'll enable you to buy additional products, so you'll be able to go beyond that 20 item limit with this card. And there's just a link there to how you can register for a Healthy Start scheme if you are eligible.
Good afternoon, my name is George Gearing, Commissioning Manager in the Strategic Partnerships team. I'm here just to tell you about a few of the initiatives that are about to support families and children. This Christmas, families will receive a food voucher funded through the Household Support Fund, delivered via an e-link through their schools. That'll be a £30 voucher for benefits related to preschool meal children. Currently, there's 32,000 children in receipt of benefits related to preschool meals across the county. If you are working with a family who is not registered for their preschool meals, there is a link on the main county council website, also through these slides, through this slide. There will be food vouchers available throughout the winter through our social care teams and our family centre service. These are additional vouchers to help those agencies support families often not in receipt of preschool meal benefits and just about managing. Next slide, please. So for all families that are in receipt of free school meals, they are also eligible for the Hearts card. In Hertfordshire, currently there is over 11,000 families in receipt of this card. They will automatically get an email when they register for their free school meal vouchers, and this allows them to receive discounts on a variety of local activities and services for their children and for their families. An example of the card is on the screen. Examples are discounts at cinema, discounts on haircuts, all sorts of different things across the county. If anybody would like to join the scheme as a provider offering a discount, then do give us an email on the screen here. Equally, if you're working with children in receipt of benefits, do check in with them, make sure they're receiving their card to get their discounts. Next slide, please, Matt. And then we have the continuation of the holiday activity and food programme. So this will be active again through Christmas. Emails are starting to go out from this week to families to bring this to their attention and to get them ready to book onto the online booking system, which will be open in the coming weeks. Codes are distributed to families via schools. This is for a holiday activity programme and a hot meal for each benefits related free school meal child in Hertfordshire. Over the winter, we have 42 camps currently running over the winter period with over 11,000 spaces on offer. These will also, for the winter period, have things like trips to pantomimes, ice skating opportunities, all sorts of winter experiences for the children, as well as the traditional holiday activity camps. Slide. Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Susan Ebanyet. I'm a development manager within the Community and People Wellbeing team and work alongside George, Tina, Christy and Matt to oversee the distribution of the Household Support Fund. We've heard from the national context that 45 million children are growing up in poverty and 43% of those come from larger families. And with the Ofgem energy price cap going up by 2%, this will add additional pressure on families to heat their homes. We've got our community warm spaces, which provide a safe, warm and welcoming, non-judgmental environment for people to keep warm in the long winter days. And as part of our warm spaces offer, we've got our tier 1s and tier 2 libraries, which also offer warm space, but also have free access to internet where children can complete their homework, and they provide an alternative to the after-school clubs. The warm spaces are available on the Herts website. You can find a warm space near you by putting in your postcode or the area that you reside in. And we also are giving funding to groups and voluntary sector or charities to organize transport for those that may not have means to get to these warm spaces, and we're encouraging them to apply. These funds are available via the Hertfordshire Community Foundation trust, where you can apply for the grants. That we'll talk about that later on in the webinar. The warm spaces do provide hot coffees and and a warm meal in some of them, so please do refer to them.
As you can imagine, the rising sort of cost in energy has been a real issue for the people that we support across Hertfordshire. So just to give you some idea of the sort of help that we can provide within Citizens Advice, so all of our advisors are trained to provide energy advice. They can help with people having problems with their energy bills, so if they think their bill is kind of incorrect, or they're struggling to understand their bills. People who are struggling to pay for their energy bills, we can access support either through the signposting or referring them into the Welfare Assistance Scheme, or through Fuel Bank Foundation vouchers that many local citizens advice offices have access to. We can also provide energy efficiency advice so that people know what measures and steps they can take to make their homes more energy efficient, and any kind of grants that they might be able to apply for in order to help them to do that. Any issues they might be having with their energy supply. We can also help them with claiming any credit back that they might have on their account, writing complaint letters to their energy providers, or speaking to their energy providers on the phone with them. We've got priority telephone numbers that we can contact energy providers on, so we can get through to their provider much more quickly than possibly people can do themselves. And we can advise them of the sort of grants and discounts that they may be eligible to apply for. And again, in terms of the services and support that's available across Hertfordshire, most of the local citizens advice officers across Hertfordshire, there are 10 of us, either provide a drop-in service or a sort of a reception triage service. We have a Hertfordshire advice line that has extended hours, so it's opening in the evenings and on a Saturday as well. Our crisis intervention team are able to provide energy advice and support that I've described. And as part of the Heart Debt Advice Service I explained earlier, for vulnerable clients in Hertfordshire who have debt, they will be able to give detailed advice and casework support to help people resolve their energy debts. And all of that advice can be provided in British Sign Language as well. And just a brief sort of case study about Ali. So Ali came to his local citizens advice office. Was living in a rented room in a house of multiple occupation. Each of the rooms had their own electricity meter. Ali was having to top up the meter by about £60 to £70 a month. He was not working due to health problems, was still sort of actively seeking employment, felt he would be able to work as long as it was the right type of work for his health condition. But was really sort of struggling financially. His benefit, he'd been subject to a benefit sanction. So we completed a benefit check with Ali to make sure he was getting all of the benefits that he should be receiving. We provided Ali with a Fuel Bank Foundation voucher so that he could top up his electricity meter, so that he wasn't going without any energy. We also made an appointment for Ali to make an application for personal independence payment for additional income to support with his health problems. And we obviously made sure that he was aware of sort of energy saving steps that he could take as well. And again, there are our details. If you'd like to refer clients into our service, there's the Hertfordshire Citizens Advice website there for people that you're working with who are sort of capable and they're able to engage with us themselves, and they can contact our advice line telephone number, or they can visit their local Citizens Advice office, and all of the details about the services are on the Hertfordshire Citizens Advice website.
Hello again. In the absence of Hertfordshire Community Foundation, I will just brief you on the grants that are available. We do also support grassroots organisations to deliver support directly to people that need it. These are grassroots organisations that work and know the people within their communities that may be facing financial difficulties. Through Hertfordshire Community Foundation, we offer grants to organizations and individuals. We've got a next slide, Matt. We've got a referral pathway for professionals where for the Children's Fund, where professionals can actually obtain funds to support children facing hardship with essential stuff like mattresses, beddings, and in some cases uniform, and that those grants are available via Hertfordshire Community Foundation through the Household Support Fund. We also fund food banks and a range of community groups that provide food support to organizations, and also the warm spaces that I alluded to earlier, as well as the transport grants I mentioned as well, up to £500 per application, which can go towards organizing, for instance, transport for people, maybe young children with a disability, to get to warm spaces or to take part in an activity, maybe happy program, or people that have restricted mobility to get access to support that they need. I think I've mentioned all the three. Main three key things that I should point out is that you can also sign up for the funding alerts, which will notify you as a professional or an organization supporting families and young children when grants are up and the category that might be of your interest. All the groups that we fund are also available on the Herts directory, so you can refer to the directory to find out the different services, as well as via HertsHelp, which do signpost to the groups that we fund within the community. Thank you.
So the White Goods Professional Referrals Pathway is a new pathway that was developed earlier this year. So this really focuses on providing white goods to residents in need. So you can apply for white goods on behalf of a client if they don't have enough money to meet their or their family's needs, if they faced an emergency or some sort of crisis, or really if they just can't afford to fix something themselves. So for example, their fridge may have packed in and they can't use it anymore, and without the fridge they're not able to buy food. If a situation like that comes up, you can apply for white goods on their behalf using the referral form, which can be found on the Hertfordshire Community Foundation webpage, but it's delivered by the Hospital and Community Navigation Service, and the link to the webpage is on this slide.
Hi, me again. So just to point out that our family centre service is available all year round. Brings family support services, health visiting, and school nurses together to provide joined up holistic support for families in the areas on screen. Open all year round. 78 venues across the county. Open Monday to Friday, 8 to 6 p.m. They're also warm spaces for people and families to go in and get some support with a variety of different areas. Next slide, please. So in addition to the previously mentioned food vouchers funded through the Household Support Fund, we also have the Winter Essentials programme that enables early help teams within Hertfordshire County Council and our Family Centre service to directly support families with what you might class as winter tangible items, so coats, jackets, warm bedding, those sorts of things, and more of a practical support. They go out and support those families and highlight those families to be able to support them through the winter months. Last year, 1,382 children were supported through the scheme, so it's a vital way of getting direct support to families over those cold winter months. Next slide, please. In direct contrast to what cold winter months, we have park play also available all year round. That is a opportunity for families to get out in a public park within their area. 2 hours of free community activities for all age groups, for young and for old, in a public space, in an outdoor space. Admittedly, it's colder during the winter, obviously, but they're available in parks in Broxbourne, Bishop Stortford, Hemel, North Hart, South Oxley and Welling, and they've been extremely successful at being able to get families out and about for that breath of fresh air. Next slide, Matt.
So the cost of living webpage has just recently been updated. This is a public facing webpage, so this has information on all the kinds of support that is available for people that they can access either directly themselves or they can go to various organisations to support them. There is a QR code and a web link on the screen, but a lot of the information that's been shared today, there will be web links on this page to direct you to the relevant support, and it's got clear categories as to what type of support you're looking for. So whether that's food advice, energy advice, it should be quite nice and easy to navigate. In addition to that, we've also got our cost of living toolkit. This is where the recording of today's webinar will be uploaded, and this contains a variety of information, including our cost of living flashcards and a lot of posters and communications that you can use. You can print and share at your organisation to make sure that people are aware of the support that is out there and make sure that people are accessing it as and when they need to.
Okay, so I think we have got a couple of minutes left if there is anybody that would like to ask a question. We have been getting some questions in the chat, but if there's anyone that would like to put their hand up now, if you put your hand up, we'll keep an eye out for that and we'll enable the microphone to allow you to ask your question.
I just have a question just regarding with a lot of these referrals. Do you share information with the referring organisations, or would it just be directly with the client or the resident? Just wondering how we can work together with this.
You'd like to answer that? Is that the through the HertsHelp?
Yes.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, so I just wanted to check. So I work for a housing association, so my team would potentially make referrals to you, and I just want to check in terms of sharing information. So if we made the referral to you, would you share information back with us about what you've helped them with, or is it just direct communication between you and the client or resident?
Yeah, I mean that's a bit tricky. That's something that we are working on as a service. It is kind of that sort of resolution piece, because when it does come to us, we will then connect it to whoever needs the help, and then it does tend to kind of just go off into the abyss, and we don't actually have a follow-up for that. It's something that we are working on at the moment. I think it's just quite a big piece because of the variety.
Can I just come in on this, Georgina, if I may? Sorry.
Yeah.
One of my other jobs is I'm very lucky to manage the HertsHelp contract on behalf of the council. We are currently looking at the ways of squaring the circle, as it were, so that when you make outgoing referrals from HertsHelp, the response comes back into the system to show whether the referral was accepted, how successful it was, etc., etc. In terms of referring back to the initial referrer, we'd probably need to have some kind of data sharing agreement there with the permission from the client. So obviously you've got permission from the person to refer them into HertsHelp. We would need permission from them to actually give you feedback as to what had happened with them. Although normally we would cover these sorts of things under best interest under GDPR, it's unlikely we'd be able to cover it for that one. But we are looking at making sure that we have a more informed picture of what's happened with the client once they've been into HertsHelp.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think sometimes we make a lot of referrals out, and it's just good when we've got that collective support. It's just good for us to be able to know whether they engaged in that service or not, especially if we need to really refer in the future. So that's great. Thank you.
Hiya, it's Anne here from St Albans Council. We manage the Household Support Fund at St Albans City and District Council. How do you ensure that support is not duplicated? So if a tenant is or a resident is referred to the Household Support Fund through Herts Community Navigation Service, but they're also referred to the Welfare Assistance Scheme and into the local governments as well, how are we making sure that white goods, for example, are not duplicated and we're not all providing the same support to the same people?
It's me again, isn't it? Sorry, it's a really good question. The problem we have had with the previous funding rounds from the central government has been always expected to end very quickly, and because of the nature of the beast, it's been virtually impossible to double check. In terms of white goods for welfare assistance service, we used to send a community navigator to the property to check if there was an item of white goods and whether it was broken. It's not actually cost effective to do that for a £200 grant, in all honesty. So we can't. Going forwards under the new funding system, we are looking at more about resilience, and so these things will be, we're looking at a more joined up system where it's going to include the citizens' advice and hopefully districts and the county council as well. So we are looking at it in the future, but historically the answer would be we haven't been able to.
Thanks, Michael. But in the meantime, would you mind, and also Herts Community Navigation Service as well, if we are referring in or if we are supporting a tenant with a white good that we know might approach you as well, if we email and include you with their permission, would that be okay?
We would be absolutely fine with
Brilliant. Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for the record, I'll just pop the email address for you to send it to so that we can tie it up with our service, if that's all right. I'll pop that in the chat.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think that there's no more hands up, and we have actually come to the end of the time. So we did manage to get it all in within time today, so that was good. There is one more slide that Matt will share in a minute, and that has got a couple of links in it, but I think the links have been put into the chat as well. So lots of ways for you to get in contact. Hope you all enjoyed today, and have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.